Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure. Please welcome the fantastic Kristin Chenoweth. Hello.
Thank you for that introduction.
You're very welcome. So, most people know all of these things about you, but the one thing that I don't think anybody knew about you was that you're a spectacular writer. And I read the book last week, and I'm going to read it again because it's really funny, but it's also incredibly honest. And why did you decide, like, why now? My first question is, why now did you decide to write a book at this point in your life? What made you want to write it?
Well, I had written a one-page article about being adopted for Glamour magazine a few years ago, and Simon & Schuster, somebody there, read it. And they called and said, would you be interested in writing a book? You're a person of interest. And I was like, that can either be bad or good. But I had the meeting, and I thought and prayed about it, and I'm actually a very shy, private person. Not shy, I'm private. But I didn't really know if I wanted to let people in on a lot of the things that I was going to write about. But as I was talking to them about the book, about my life, and they were laughing, and somebody started to cry, and they said, these are great lessons you've learned, and it's a great memoir. And I was like, hopefully I'm not old enough yet to have a memoir. So I thought, you know what, let's just go for it. And that's what made me decide.
It's fantastic. So you wrote that article in Glamour magazine. Had you written other articles or other short pieces, or was that your first major article that you had in a magazine?
That was my first major article that had ever been published. As a child, my mother encouraged me to write and keep a journal. And I also took, every year in college, I took creative writing. I was always interested in writing. It's probably something you'd probably, it's not something I tell a lot of people, because I don't want them. I'm no Shakespeare, but I do love to write. I love to write music, lyrics to songs, and I love to write down my thoughts.
We collaborated on a song that we did. That song about your dad.
My dad.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, we wrote a song together called "The Ride Home."
That was the first time we did that. That was fun.
It was fun. So I obviously have always enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that my mom was the encourager. She was the one that said, "Make sure you write something down every night before you go to bed."
So you went ahead and wrote this book, and it really goes into your life. It's not, oh, I've done a few shows and I've been on television. It's not, and then I did this kind of
My resume?
Yeah, it's a book about adoption. Yeah. It's a book about your love life. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about why how you were able to write so honestly about adoption and what your experience. I have a friend who's also adopted, someone my age, who's recently found his birth mother, met his siblings, his natural siblings, and I had dinner with him the other night, and he said to me, and I've known him my whole life, and he said to me, he said, I feel better. I can't quite explain it, but I feel better.
More
something
complete.
Like I kind of know. And he's got a great relationship with his parents,
sure.
But somehow meeting these biological people. And so I know you tell the story in here about that woman who comes up to you. You want to tell that story?
I was Miss OCU. I went to Oklahoma City University, and woohoo! Woohoo!
You might have read about that, I'm sure.
Never made it to the Miss America pageant. But as Miss OCU, I had many appearances to make. One of the years, Dan Quill came to our town in Oklahoma, and I was chosen to sing "God Bless the USA." One of my more prouder moments. And afterwards, I had to sign autographs, and this woman, my pageant director, Kathy, was standing with me, and this woman came up and she had tears in her eyes, and she said, "I just want you to know that I'm proud of you, and I've been following your career, and I pray for you every day." And I said, "Oh, thank you so much." Signed her thing, and I turned to Kathy. She left. I turned to Kathy, and Kathy was white, and she said, I said, what's wrong? And she said, "That woman looked just like you, and she sounded like you." And of course, then I was, you know, kind of looking through the crowd, wondering where she was, and she'd gone. So I don't know if it was her. I will tell you that, am I curious? Yeah. I wonder who's petite, you know, who sings. I've said this many times, my parents should never sing out loud, ever. They should just keep it, they shouldn't clap or sway or anything. They should just keep it quiet.
Just clap on the beat.
Yeah, they're so white.
Yes.
And, and yet, I don't really have that burning desire to go and find. If it were to happen, of course, I'd welcome it. But I get really very tired of hearing about Angelina's adopted child, Maddox, and her biological daughter, Shiloh. It's scary that I know their names, isn't it? But that's what I do on the plane. I read Us Weekly.
And do you think you would adopt children if you wanted to have children at some point?
I'm of the opinion that if you can have a child, then biologically you should. I'm also of the opinion that if you have that burning desire, there are some women in this world that want to be a mother and aren't able to have their own child. Definitely, adoption is a great option. I mean, I won the lottery. I got the best parents.
She did, actually. Her parents are incredible.
Thank you. They are.
Really are.
He knows. They're amazing. And my dad always used to tell me, I won the lottery. I mean, sometimes I like you more than I like your brother. He's their biological son.
And he's right in the back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, right? Thank you.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah.
Well, and so let's talk a little bit about the multi-facets of your career. If you had to choose, this is like one of those terrible games that you play when you've had a couple too many drinks.
Terrible.
If you had to choose singing, acting, if you had to choose, do you have a pull towards one over the other? Because it's hard to separate those things, I know, because we all know you as an actress, and we all know you as a singer, and we all know you as a singing actress. So it's kind of like, well, you can't separate those. It's like pulling, it's the Solomonic question. Can you split yourself in half? But if you had to, which would you choose?
To me, singing is acting. It's so hard because it comes from the same place. I'm gonna say I would never not want to sing. It would be like cutting off my arm, I think. My voice it's an extension of who I am. I would have to say that. I mean, to me it is the same. We sing because we can't speak anymore, and then we dance because we must continue the art. We must continue the movement. So then we dance. So to me, it comes all from the same place. But if I had to pick, I would be very upset if I lost my voice.
Well, so would the rest of us.